Alright, so we're going to begin Parashat Shemini. In Parashat Shemini, there are various themes, various topics that are discussed, but we only have the time to focus on one. I decided to focus on the portion of the Parasha that is towards the end. That section of the Torah that deals with the dietary laws, the kashrut ha'machalim, what the Torah tells us is permissible to eat and what not. It's important that we understand what it's all about. Wouldn't you like to have a piece of zebra meat? It's cute. It has stripes. The Torah says you can't have it. And as much as we don't understand why, we still have an idea of what these mitzvot are all about, and that's what I want to talk a little bit about. It's important to realize that ever since the Torah was given to us in Parashat Yitro, we've already become familiar, we've become acquainted with certain facts. The Torah Kedosha, the Torah reveals to the Jewish nation what is the purpose of all this. What is the purpose of all the mitzvot, if we can say in one line or two, in a few words, what does Hashem want us to achieve? After all, it appears to anyone who reads the Torah that observing the mitzvot involves tremendous responsibility. There must be some incredible goal that we need to achieve, that hopefully, obviously the Torah says in an indirect way, that we will be rewarded. I say in an indirect way because it does not openly talk about Olam Haba, the world to come. But it does tell us that if you follow this, you will have a good life down here below, in this physical world. So obviously there's some benefit to all of this. But some of it does not make too much sense, it's not logic, which we need to explain a little bit. But what does the Torah tell us? What is the goal? Briefly, for you to be Mamlechet Kohanim V'Goy Kadosh. Hashem says, I want you to be a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. All right? What does that mean? A kingdom of priests? Kingdom of priests means that you will be teachers. You hopefully will be the light unto the world. You've been selected and you agreed, you accepted to do so. To teach, to show everyone the right path. That is what it means to be a kingdom of priests. But it also says to be a holy nation. What does it mean to be holy? Simply stated, holiness means elevated. You will be a people whose more important focus will be spirituality. Those matters that are associated with holiness. That which is holy is not down here below. It is not something physical. It is something more elevated. Okay? It is difficult to define holiness unless you've become familiar with the concept by studying about it. But basically it means something which is elevated. Something perhaps that it really belongs in a different dimension. You will need to be close to Hashem. And therefore there are certain guidelines on how to be close to Hashem. So Kadosh, holy, close to Hashem, removed somewhat from the physical world. Somewhat because we still live in a physical world. We all eat, we work, somewhat removed from the physical world because the emphasis, the dagesh will be ruchaniut, spirituality, that which is holy. So far, what have we seen from the Parashiyot? We've seen several ideas. We've seen that there are certain mitzvot that if we observe them, that will enable us to connect to Hashem. And there are other negative commandments that if we transgress, they will cause us to become distant from Hashem. We've become impressed by that. I think everyone who has studied the Torah so far realizes there are certain things that bring us close to Him and certain things that create distance. The positive commandments, as we observe them, somehow connect us to Him. The negative commandments, if we transgress them, somehow cause distance. How do we fix it if we become distant from Him? We learned that too, through korbanot. Somehow the ritual that involved sacrifices along with confession and regret, all of that, somehow that helps us to rectify our misdeeds, our mistakes, our sins. Okay. What else did we see so far? That there's another method by which one can come close to Hashem or become distant. That does not necessarily involve mitzvot, commandments. It involves something called tum'ah v'tahara. Purity, impurity. Somehow, Hashem wants us to be pure. In order for the Kohanim to do their job, they have to wash themselves, they have to immerse in a ritual bath. That involves purity, which is slightly different than holiness. Versus impurity. There's something that can cause an individual to be impure through contact with that which is impure. There's various ways. All I'll say for now is that the human being can become impure by touching, by handling certain things that are impure. All right, so this impurity is also important because this can also bring us close to Hashem or cause some distance. You want to be close, you have to be pure. Right. What we'll see today, however, is a very interesting, different approach of being close to Hashem, or God forbid, being distant from Him. And that is through what we eat, which a lot of people misunderstand. But somehow, this topic of machalot asurot, that which is forbidden for us to eat, has something to do with tum'ah, something to do with impurity. We are commanded, we are instructed what to eat and what not to eat. Somehow, this will mold us. Somehow, we don't know how. We don't know yet. Hopefully we will learn a little bit tonight, a little bit about how it does mold us. But somehow what we eat makes a big difference in who we will be. You may recall, there is a famous saying in various languages, you are what you eat. Have you heard that? A lot of people don't understand what that means. What do you mean you are what you eat? So people give different interpretations, but the simple interpretation of those words, that you are what you eat, is what we eat affects us. What we eat physically affects us. We become certain types of creatures depending on the foods that we've ingested into our system. People can become obese, fat, They can become lethargic, slow, as a result of sugar and all kinds of foods. We know that. We realize, hopefully, that the foods that we eat affect us physically. So you are what you eat. A lot of what you will be determined by what you ate, especially what you ate in your younger years. Because let's say you were 20 and you ate everything that your heart desires, and you said to yourself, you see, nothing happened to me. Just wait till you're 50. By that time, 30 years have gone by, you have no idea what those foods may have done to your physical body. Clogged arteries, God forbid, diabetes. Maybe the liver is no longer working to its full potential, the kidneys. Anyone who studied a little bit about medicine or about diet knows that this is a fact. It's not a theory. It's proven. The food that we eat does affect us. And I've always said that I believe that in this generation there's all kinds of illnesses that did not exist before simply because of the junk food that people eat so much of. And the air is contaminated too to a certain extent. There's a lot of things that we don't see, but it's happening in our body one way or another. And in the same way that the body can become contaminated, the mind can also be contaminated by what it sees, by what it reads, by what it hears. The human being is very fragile and affected by the environment, by the people who he befriends. You heard the saying, tell me who your friend is, I'll tell you who you are. Why? Because that's the way it works. Human beings affect each other. They influence each other. And some people are more sensitive and they become more affected than others. So in the same way that the physical body can become affected or influenced, the same is true with the neshama, the soul. Now the Torah does emphasize indirectly that we should be careful with our health. It says, "V'nishmartem me'od lenafshotechem." Be watchful, be careful with your body. You want to live a normal life, a healthy life. You want to be able to observe the mitzvot. You don't want to hurt yourself. So even though that verse is talking about something else, it is inferred from that, nonetheless, that we should definitely be careful with our health. There's no disagreement about that. It makes sense. However, the reason why I'm telling you this is not only because we can compare the physical body to the neshama, the two are very different, but it's important to realize that even though the Torah attributes great importance to being physically healthy, that has nothing to do with why we eat kosher. So I wanted to give you this as an introduction. When you read about the dietary laws, and we studied it more in detail, don't think that the Torah said so, that we follow this system of what to eat and what not to eat because it affects our physical body. Not necessarily. There are a lot of non-Jews out there who eat just about anything that crawls, literally anything that crawls, and they're perfectly healthy. Now we know that there are certain animals perhaps that are not as healthy and may have certain diseases. We know that, but that's not the main reason why the Torah tells us stay away from eating rattlesnakes. Rattlesnakes. What's wrong with a rattlesnake? A lot of people make a barbecue with rattlesnakes. So it's important that I make this clear. The dietary laws have nothing to do with health reasons. So in order for us to understand a little bit, just a little bit of what the dietary laws are all about, we must realize that this is actually Echad mi'yesodot habayit hayehudi. This is one of the pillars of a Jewish home. Generally, we say that there are three important pillars, even though we have many commandments. The pillars do have something to do with the dietary laws, a kosher home, kosher kitchen, you may have heard, Shabbat, the observance of Shabbat, and Taharat HaMishpacha, family purity. If one of those three pillars is missing, it's a very weak Jewish home. If all three are there, it doesn't mean everything is perfect. It could still be that the husband and wife are not getting along. There's no shalom bayit. It could still be that there are other issues and problems. It could be that the husband, the father, is a dishonest man. Just because he has all the three pillars and he's very careful with them, it doesn't prove that he's good all around. It just tells us that this is an observant home. But there could be some areas in this man or woman's life that need repair work. No one is perfect. So in order to understand why this is so important, why do we call this a pillar, why this is fundamental, we need to give a brief introduction into understanding why the Torah, in great detail, lists for us names of animals, birds, all kinds of detail. Not all the detail is in the Torah Shebektav, the written word. A lot of it is in the oral word. Nonetheless, wow. The rabbis tell us, listen, Moshe was not a zoologist. How did he know all of this? Where did he take this from? Obviously, he was divinely inspired. He could never have known all of these birds and animals that at the time at least, and probably even today, do not exist in Israel. So he has this divine knowledge. This is divine. But what's so important? What's so special about this? So we know that the neshama, the soul, is a chelek eloka mimal. The rabbis tell us the soul is very different than the physical body. It is actually a part of God. It is something spiritual. It just happens to be that Hashem decided, for reasons that only He knows, that in order for this soul to achieve anything in this world, in this physical world, it has to be in a physical body, because otherwise it can't function in the physical world. So Hashem combines the neshama, the soul, with the physical body for 70, 80 years or whatever. And now this creates a battle. It's a constant battle, which I'm sure most of you know by now, The neshama, being spiritual, being divine, pulls in a completely different direction than the physical body, who's interested in what? Physicality. Have a good life, enjoy itself, vacation, good food, drink, and the like. They're very, very different, and they have constant battles. Now, a lot of people don't think that they have any battle. Why? Because they are completely ruled by the nefesh habehemit, that animal spirit, which is basically the body. They're so completely ruled by that animal spirit, they're not in touch with their neshama. They don't even know they have a soul. Many of them deny there's such a thing as the soul. I don't feel the soul. I can't see the soul. Whoever told you can see everything? Do you see the atoms? I mean, there's a lot of things we don't see. But you can experience it. You can experience something called neshama. But you have to be in tune. Most people are not in tune because they're so immersed in the physical world that that's all they think about. Now this ma'avak, this continuous battle, is a very difficult battle for the neshama, for one reason. For those of you who know a little bit about sports, you know what it's like to play against a team who is in their home. The home team has an advantage over the one that's not from this city. Why? Because all the fans, the entire stadium almost, is rooting for their team. So the home team has an advantage of the one who's not from there. Well, who has the advantage, the neshama or the physical body? The physical body, because this earth is the home. So this is the home team. The physical body has a big advantage over the neshama. And that is why the majority of people in the world will not be able to dominate that physical body, to control it perfectly. The neshama won't succeed. The rabbis therefore tell us, Noach lo l'adam shelo nivra. Man, in general, would have been better off not to be created, because his chances of success, of achieving everything that Hashem would love for him to achieve, Jew or non-Jew, by the way, are not so strong, because this is the home team that he's dealing with. The neshama is dealing with the home team. The goof, the physical body, has an advantage. Doesn't mean it's impossible to win. You can still win. For those of you who've watched soccer matches, or even basketball, or anything, you've known that there have been many times that the one that was not the home team won. So it's possible. How is it possible for the soul to win? Through the da'at. Hashem gave the human being something called da'at. And through that knowledge, that special knowledge, somehow, if it wants to and makes a decision, it may be able to win. The difficulty, however, will be where I like to use the example of gravity. The law of gravity, which you're familiar with, right? Things fall back to earth. And to some extent, of course, that exists in space too, not just here, down here below. Gravity is very powerful. So the human being will tend to gravitate to that which is physical. There therefore has to be something more powerful than that gravity. That more powerful tool is called da'at. Hashem gives the human being da'at. He gave the animals a certain limited amount of, let's call it da'at, which is really more instinct by an animal. And what does that do? What does the instinct in an animal do for the animal? Number one, that instinct enables it to survive. Have you ever seen a deer go over to a lion? Hey, you want dinner? Take me. Most animals, because of their instinct, run away from that which they perceive as danger to their life. They want to survive for some reason. They want to survive. They want to live. What for? You've been around for 10 years. You brought your little children into the world. Go ahead and offer yourself for dinner. No. It is an instinct of animals in their limited way to run away from danger. Except when they perceive that this is not danger. Now, most animals, when they see a human being, they'd rather avoid him. depending on the circumstances. They're suspicious, they're not used to it, they're not programmed that this is a friend, even though that human being may want to help them. They're stuck. They're stuck. They're stuck in a trap. A wild animal, take a wolf, was stuck, and the human being wants to help him get out of the trap. You think he'll have an easy time? That human being has to protect himself, because that animal does not know what this man plans to do. They don't have a language that they can communicate. But then you have something called cleaning symbiosis. Very fascinating. Cleaning symbiosis. There are certain fish and birds that will go into the crocodile's mouth. And the crocodile will open the mouth and let that bird, the plover bird is one example, to go in. It won't hurt that bird. The bird will actually risk its life. Why? It knows that the alligator or crocodile will not hurt her. Why? Because that bird is doing the alligator, the crocodile, a favor. It's eating all the leeches. The zalu, the leeches. It's eating the bugs, the insects, inside the mouth. Cleaning the teeth. It's helping the alligator with its hygiene. The crocodile must be happy. Go ahead. And as soon as she's ready to leave, it opens its mouth and leaves. You can see videos about this. This is not just a theory. It actually exists in nature. There's fish that do it, all kinds of creatures that actually help. These creatures somehow know they won't be hurt, and the other ones know that they will be helped. It's a relationship. Otherwise, the dat or the instinct knows on its own what danger is and to stay away from it. In the same way that it is in the animal kingdom, so it is supposed to be with the human being. Hashem gave us that we should realize, if we use it properly, what is dangerous and what is not. But this human being is a very funny creature. It sometimes is willing to take risks. It is sometimes not willing to pay attention to its dat and ignore it completely. It could be overconfident. Nothing is going to happen to me. This human being needs to be analyzed. I'm just joking. I mean, analyze meaning psychologically, philosophically. We need to analyze what's different about the human being. Obviously, there's a whole, more than one lecture about why the human being conducts himself differently than the animal. Obviously, if we were to just briefly give the answer would be free will. Human being actually has free will, that he can go this way, that way, do what's right, do what's wrong, do things that are crazy, silly, and make no sense whatsoever. But we don't have the time to go into the why. What's going on in this human brain? We do know that a lot of what motivates the human being is the ta'avot, desires. As we said earlier, that physical body is very strong. Okay, but how do we get around it? Through dat. What will the dat do? Dat is very powerful. If it is used properly, the dat will give the human being the power, ligvor ala yetzer, to overcome the evil inclination. Without using dat, the most the human being can accomplish through different strategies, I guess we can say, is lerasen et hatavot. Lerasen is not ligvor. Lerasen means to control a little bit, to moderate the appetite. People can succeed by reading a good book about diets. Oh, I better go on a diet and lose 45 pounds. And do this and do this and do that in order to accomplish this in the next couple of months. What that will do is maybe help him control and moderate, but not to overcome completely, to be the king, to be the boss on the ta'avot. That the neshama can do, but only if it has the help of the da'at. It has clarity as to why this is not a good idea, and why I better stay away from this. Only then could we call it Ezel Gibor, Akovesh et Yisro, as the rabbis tell us, who is really a strong man, who is the hero here. The hero is only an individual who has conquered, who is in complete control over his yetzer, his evil inclination. Otherwise, those who have not gained complete control, maybe they will moderate it. Occasionally, they will have their ups and downs. They will a little bit control, but not be the ones to dominate. They may be dominated by the evil inclination. That is why they're willing to accept bribes. But a bribe is asur, it's forbidden. Yeah, but that evil inclination will justify anything. You need the money. They're offering you $150,000 and you haven't made a penny the last 6 months. Whatever. It's okay. It's only once. It's not a real bribe. He's only helping you. All kinds of explanations. That's the evil inclination. Very, very crafty. And of course, his job, he has a job too, is to make man stumble and fail. One who does not use his dat will not even realize that he has an enemy who's living in him rent-free. He's living in your body rent-free for the whole life. Who would want somebody like that? People who don't use the dat don't realize that I have an enemy. Yeah, that enemy is ruining your life. He's ruining your physical body perhaps, but worse than that, he's ruining perhaps your neshama. A physical body that is healthy, we all know that its normal, natural desire is to stay healthy. We know that. That is what it aspires. To eat hopefully healthy foods, to be healthy, a normal, healthy body. In the same way that the physical body wants to stay healthy, if it understands what it means to stay healthy, the neshama also aspires continuously to remain healthy. Why? Why does the neshama want to be healthy? What is motivating the neshama? Just because it is a part of God? Yes, it is a part of God and it knows the truth. But there's something that is pushing her. That push is because she has clarity. Clarity about what she needs to accomplish in this life. The neshama has come down into this world. Before it came down, it was told, listen, you're coming down, we're sending you down. Don't forget what your mission is. So it has like an embedded chip, call it an embedded chip, that somehow is drawn to do the right thing because it wants to accomplish. It doesn't want to waste its time. For the neshama, this physical world is not Disneyland. For the physical body, it is. Of course, you have to work too. You have to pay your bills. But the physical body just sees Disneyland. It says, this is a place that if I only make enough money, I can have a good time. I can buy myself a yacht. I can buy myself a private plane. Right? All kinds of goodies. That's what the physical body sees and dreams about. A lot of people, that's all they dream about. The neshama somehow is driven to accomplish. The body does not always allow it. It gets in the way. So the neshama rarely has the chance to really express itself. For the Jewish people, we are given a little bit of a recess. Let's call it a recess. Abstain from physical work on Shabbat. Why? At least once a week, give your neshama a chance to express itself. If you keep Shabbat properly, you will feel that neshama expressing itself. During the holidays, the same thing. During Yom Kippur, wow, the Day of Atonement. Atonement for what? Why is that important? I atone for my sins. What's the big deal? Oh, if we focus on what a sin is, we will realize this is not good. So we need time to focus and to gain clarity. The neshama by itself is driven to accomplish. But the big question is, how will it accomplish? How will the neshama accomplish to be that holy nation that the Torah is telling the Jew, at the very least? But even the non-Jew. The non-Jew has the ability to become a very refined individual, where his soul is the one in control, and not the physical body. In a different way than the Jew. The Jew's mission is different. So here we're talking about the Jewish mission. How are we going to accomplish that mission? How are we going to become a holy nation? We see that it's not easy. It's not an easy task. And it's Suffice is for anyone to learn through the prophets. Learn through the books of the prophets. You will see how many times did they rebuke, criticize, and tell off the Jewish people. What are you guys doing? Don't you realize you're bringing about the destruction of the first temple, later the second temple? You're going into exile. God is upset at you. It didn't help. It's sad. If you ever read through those prophecies, harsh words. How could you be so ungrateful? Even an ox and a mule, they know their master. Remember those words? How could it be? You're a human being. You have an neshama. You've seen the miracles, especially the miracles of Hashem. How could you just ignore that? I mean, obviously, we cannot judge them because we don't know what we would do if we would be in their circumstances. All we do know is that the evil inclination is powerful. And the greater you are, the greater the evil inclination to tempt you, to challenge you. That's its job. And not everybody succeeds. People succumb. But that is what Teshuvah is all about. It gives us a chance to correct. And the Kabbalah teaches very clearly. Upstairs, they're not going to be upset if you made a mistake. They're going to be upset as, why didn't you try to correct the mistakes? For that, there's no excuse. Mistakes happen, but why didn't you do something about it? So what are we going to do? How are we going to become strong enough so that we accomplish our mission of being a holy nation? So I thought of a beautiful mashal that Rav Chaim, Evolution of blessed memory, brings down. Hashem added His name to our name in order that we do not forget our identity. Utziref et shmo. Therefore we're called Yisrael. Aleph Lamed. Hashem attached part of His name to us so that we do not forget our identity. How is that? How will we not forget our identity? Just because we have Hashem's name? Yeah, that is a big help. But there are individuals who fall between the cracks, as they say. So he gives us this beautiful mashal. And through the mashal we can understand how it is possible to stay connected to Hashem and not to forget who we are. There was a king who had a very small key, a very important key. He didn't want to lose it. So what do you do in order not to lose a small key? You attach a string to that little key to yourself. And in this way, it will always be attached to you and you will not lose it. Right? It's easy to lose something small, and this is an important key. So therefore, he attached it to himself through a sharsheret, through a chain. Likewise, Hashem gave a key to every human being, actually. And through that key, he can connect to Hashem. He can stay connected to Hashem. The Jewish people have one type of key, the non-Jewish people have a different kind of key. Either way, it is possible to connect to Him. It is through this key that if used properly, we can open up the palace doors in this world and in the upper worlds. That's how it is explained. In other words, it is this key that enables us to succeed in our mission. What is the mission? Part of the mission is that we overcome our physical body. In other words, that we stay on top and not let it dictate to us how to live our life. I said part of the mission because that's not the main mission, but that definitely is part of the mission, because if you don't do that, then you cannot fully accomplish your real mission of being a holy nation. So that key will enable you to be strong enough to be the boss, to be in control, complete control over the physical body. And of course, if you do things properly, you will continue to be connected with Hashem and not distant from Him. What is so special about this key? What does this key have? What are the qualities of this key? There are basically three qualities that this key possesses. Three important principles that help us succeed in our mission. The first one, the first quality of this key is found in the mitzvah of Paraduma, in the mitzvah of the red heifer, which is not this week's Parasha. Nonetheless, you will see how it ties in. What's so unique about the red heifer? You know, the red heifer the ashes of the red heifer were necessary for us to gain complete purity if we handled the dead. Obviously, not everything requires the ashes of the red heifer. Nonetheless, the ashes of the red heifer were very important. This mitzvah of Parah Adumah happens to be not an ordinary mitzvah or mishpat. It happens to be called a chok. Zot chukat Torah. In Judaism, there's different levels of mitzvot. Mitzvot means commandments, tzibui. But there are general mishpatim, laws, and there are chukim. Chukim are not logical. A mishpat can be logical. Honor your father and mother, somewhat logical. Don't steal, somewhat logical. We can understand and we can relate to them. We would enact such laws in our society even if we did not have the Torah, the rabbis tell us. They make sense. And that is why in normal countries you have some of these rules and laws that the Torah has. But chukim, Parah Adumah, the red heifer, that's a chok. That is not so logical. There's reasons for it. There's a reason for everything. We don't know. Hashem did not reveal the reasons for all the mitzvot. And even if He gave us a little bit of an idea, He didn't tell us in detail all the reasons for observing a mitzvah. And less so for a chok. A chok is a decree. Decree means, I decreed, I don't give an explanation. What's the purpose of giving us decrees without an explanation? Because if a Jew follows a decree of Hashem without understanding it, and he follows it properly, this will help him gain hachna'ah, submission, and humbleness before Hashem. Look, I'm doing His will even though I don't understand it. This is of great necessity. The midah of hachna'ah for a Jew to be humble and submissive to Hashem. Whatever Hashem says, I don't understand. There will be many, many times in life that we don't understand why certain things happen. Same thing with mitzvot. But why? Why should it be this way? Sir, have you ever gone to a doctor and you needed desperately medication for some illness that only he was able to diagnose and he prescribed it? You trusted him even though you don't understand how it helps you? Why do you trust the doctor just because he has a white gown and he has a diploma from some university? You know, he could have had a D minus and just barely passed his grade. But you trust him? Why? Why do you trust the doctor? Who says that he knows for sure that this will help? Penicillin was a lifesaver when it was discovered. People rushed to get it. Many, many lives were saved because of penicillin. But the average individual does not understand how penicillin is able to help. But they still will take it. They'll take anything that will restore their health or that will make, hopefully help them recover from some illness. That we trust, that we don't ask questions, that we follow. A chok is intended partially to help us develop that submissiveness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, develop that trust in Him. You need it. You need that connection. This is one of the ingredients that you need. You want to stay close to Him. You want to be able to develop a very, very strong relationship with Him that will help you conquer your evil inclination. This is one of the ingredients. A chok. Accept the chukim even though you don't fully understand them. So this is one of those details, I guess, that we can say that key has. The concept of chukim, mitzvot that we don't fully understand their logic. Because they're not logical. All we know is that they are for our benefit, for our good. Why is this important and how does this relate to the parasha? Because ma'achalot asurot, forbidden foods, is a chok. It doesn't say why Hashem did not allow us to have zebra or rattlesnake or skunks. And we know for sure that there's nothing to do with health reasons. So what's the idea behind forbidden foods? Why is the Torah giving us a diet? This yes, this no. It's a chok, because Hashem said so. If anybody therefore ever asks you what's the reason for forbidden foods, why can't we have these foods? It's a chok. That's the best short answer. Hashem said so, and that's good enough for me. I don't have to understand everything. Do you understand everything? No. You're willing to listen to your doctor? Yes. Well, he's the greatest doctor of all. He created the world. I trust him. It's a chok. Machalot asurot, forbidden foods, is therefore a decree by Hashem. But is there any clue, anything whatsoever that will give us an idea what it has to do with? Yes, the Kabbalah touches on that. If you learn the Zohar, you will get a little bit more detail. But even the Torah, you don't have to learn the Zohar, even the Torah does shed some light. Just be careful with them, because v'nitmetim bam, if you do eat these things, you will become tameh, you will become unclean, impure. Remember what we said before? Impurity, that will distance us from Hashem. Somehow, that which is impure and unclean brings about distance. Then I can't touch it. I can't have anything to do with it. And for sure not ingest it into my system. Yes, because the metamtem. Rabbis learn from the words v'nitmetem, metamtem, which is another verb. It will contaminate your soul. So there is a little bit of an explanation how these foods will harm, not the physical body, it will harm the neshama. In what way will it harm? It will not block our arteries, it will block our spiritual arteries, the connection with Hashem. Anyone who therefore is lax about this will lose his cheshek, his desire, interest, and passion for that which is spiritual. He won't be excited about it. He won't be interested in it. This is fairy tales. This is, as we say in Yiddish, bubba-meises. This is nonsense. Since when does this affect you? Sir, when you were eating all that junk food when you were 20 years old, you also didn't see the results of what that junk food did. Now that you're 50 and above, go and check yourself. You may be in trouble. You may need a bypass. You don't know. Smoking, alcohol, you know what it does to the liver, to the lungs? People don't see the immediate effects. Same thing with the neshama. They don't see the immediate effects, how doing the wrong things will hurt them. They don't see it right away. It's only with time that this person who hasn't been careful with the mitzvot, with the Torah, has become more and more detached and uninterested in that which is spiritual. Let me live my life the way I want, he says. How come? Your great-grandparents were willing to sacrifice their life. Where did they take that from? How did they have that power, that willingness? Why? You not? Well, let's go back a little bit in time and analyze their lifestyle and your lifestyle. So, machalot asurot, forbidden foods, has to do with a chok. And all we do know is that it produces a certain impurity in the individual who eats it. He can still remain healthy and be a good person, but we're talking about the connection with Hashem right now. This is detrimental. So, ingredient number one of those important principles that this key has is realizing that it's important for us to accept the chukim because Hashem said so without trying to figure them out. Number two, the Torah gave us clear instructions, horaot brurot, clear instructions what to do, what not to do, what to eat and what not to eat. What for? I'm sure that many people in this room and in this country are not ready to eat a rat. Anybody has any interest ever to eat a rat? Why not? Because to us it's something detestable. Not ugly, detestable. There's a lot of things like that we on our own would not want to eat anyway. So why do we need the Torah to tell us? So the Kabbalah teaches that the tzivui of Hashem, the commandment of Hashem, helps us. Of course, many things you would do on your own, but the fact that you have been commanded by God gives you additional strength. You need that strength. Remember, we don't want to lose against the home team. We don't want to, but unfortunately the home team has some advantages. We need extra strength. Where are we going to get that extra strength from? From the tzivuyim of the Torah. Hashem gave us tzivuy, a commandment. The fact that Hashem commanded us, this yes, this no, that gives us enough, hopefully, enough strength to do battle with the evil inclination. The tzivuyim also teach us. They guide us. Stay away from trouble. Do this and don't do that. So, detail number 2 about the key that can help us succeed in our mission is that we understand that we're being commanded by God. We're not doing this on our own. Even if we would agree to, Hashem commanded us. And if He says, I command you, it means I give you the strength and I will guide you. I will help you with this. Number 3, Hashem gave the Jewish people the Torah. What does the Torah do? The Torah enables us to distinguish. If we learn it properly, we will be able to distinguish between that which is tahor and lo tahor, that which is pure and impure. We may not know exactly all the differences, but we will be able to identify. Certain things are pure, certain things are not pure. What will we gain from this knowledge? We will realize that hopefully there are certain things in life that will enable us to progress, to get ahead in life, to come closer to Hashem, and certain things that will detract and create distance. In other words, the Torah, the knowledge of the Torah, will be able to guide us properly in distinguishing right from wrong. See, this is something that a lot of people don't realize. The Torah is not just a book of stories or rules. If one learns it properly, it actually trains him to distinguish. Remember we said before about enemy and friend? Somehow animals can determine that. Human beings have a harder time realizing who is a friend and who is a foe. They don't realize that the Yetzer Hara is their enemy. I don't see how he's my enemy. You're supposed to eat good. You're supposed to be healthy. What's wrong with eating? So they don't realize it. The Torah reminds us, look, this is the manual of instructions. This is how you can succeed in life. There are certain things in life out there that will help you. They're your friend. Help you how? Connect to Hashem, not make money. You don't need the Torah for that. For that you have to have good mazal. That's all. But we're talking about succeeding in a very important mission. The Torah will help you realize, identify who is a friend and who is a foe. What's pure and what's impure. Why do I need to know that? Yes, because that which is impure is your enemy. It will get in the way. It will interfere in your life. We don't see it. Yeah, you have to trust the doctor. The doctor knows, your medical doctor knows what interferes. He knows your body. Today there's all kinds of machines that can look everywhere. In the brain, in the body, there's cameras, there's all kinds of things that can detect almost anything. If the human being knows, you don't think God knows. He created you. He created the doctors. Right? So He gave us the Torah, and that Torah is so valuable because it helps us realize that there are certain things out there in life that will help. There are friends, and there are certain things that are our enemies. So now we understand that it is through this key, the mafteach, that connects us to Hashem, that a person will be hopefully able to elevate himself and overcome any potential stumbling block. Nonetheless, I'm sure we all want to know a little bit, what's the difference between the pure animals and the non-pure animals? Where is the difference? So somebody might say, Rabbi, I studied the Torah. In those animals that are pure, they have split hoofs. They chew their cud. Oh, they're vegetarians. True. And those animals that are not pure don't have split hoofs, don't necessarily chew their cud. Or they may have one and not the other. But only if they have the two, they're pure. Right? These are just indicators. But what about the composition? Well, the kosher animals are not predators. They're vegetarian. True. All of this is true. If you analyze it, you may be able to discover something that they have in common. Something, but not everything. The ones that don't have a hoof, they're feet are touching the ground, they're more connected to the physical world. You can say those that have a hoof have a barrier or a separation. These are all nice explanations, but they don't really tell us the essence of what makes an animal pure versus impure. For that, you have to study Kabbalah. The Zohar talks a little bit about it. I'm just going to say briefly, what is the distinction between pure and impure in the animal world? Has to do with the beginning of creation. In the beginning of creation, Hashem created many sets. Man, woman, it's a set. Day, night, it's a set. Two opposites. You have Shabbat and the rest of the week. You have Kodesh and Hol, that which is holy and that which is unholy. We see that in the very beginning, somehow sets of two opposites. The Jewish nation, the rest of the world. Everything is about a set of two. And in the Kabbalah, you also find Yeminu Smol, in the Sefirot. In the Sefirot of Hashem, you find that there's a right and there's a left. Why? There's some sort of separation here. From the very beginning of creation, between that which is right and that which is left. Everything is important. Hashem wants everything created, that's why He created them. But each one has a separate mission, a separate function. And you have to be careful, because some of those things out there that Hashem created will hurt you. There's poisonous mushrooms. Very, very poisonous mushrooms. You don't want to eat that. But that's the physical body. But you have to be aware of that. You have to be careful with your physical body as well. There's certain things that are not good for us. So at the very beginning of creation, for some reason, Hashem decided there's going to be two camps. The camp of holiness, the camp of unholiness, impurity. Sitra Achara. The Zohar goes on to explain that all those animals that are listed, all the ones that are not pure, belong to the Sitra Achara. They belong to the second side, to the other side, the opposite side. Whereas the kosher animals, the pure animals, belong to the side of the Kedusha. How does that help me? It helps me realize that these animals that are from the Sitra Achara will get in the way of my accomplishing my mission, because anything which belongs to that camp, anything, even food, interferes. As I said before, it will hamper, it will interfere, it won't give me that excitement that I need to do the will of Hashem. We want to stay connected, like the key that is connected. So we need to be aware of certain things. We need to study the Torah, of course, but we cannot do something that will get in the way, because if someone becomes unclean, impure, eventually, at least, maybe not the first day, he will lose interest. He will become disconnected. Why does a person lose interest? Because he's disconnected. We want to stay connected. We don't want to forget our identity. We want to have that key with us at all times. We have to be able to distinguish between right and left. These things are off limits. Off limits. People don't understand it. They have a hard time with that. I have a whole lecture about the issues of why can't a Jew marry a non-Jew. People are lovely. There are a lot of good, lovely people out there. But it has nothing to do with them personally. People must realize that the Jew has a mission. Very delicate mission. Very complex mission. And he can't afford to marry someone who's going to be against him. As it is, we have trouble even with two Jews, man and woman. As it is, the fact that one is a male and one is a female, they're so different. Now imagine somebody from Iran and somebody from North Africa somewhere. You know, two different mentalities. That also creates problems. It is simple. People don't understand. They think it's prejudice. It's not about prejudice. We want to protect our mission. We want to succeed. Allow us to succeed. Can I succeed? Don't give me something that will hurt me. Don't give me something that will get in the way. This will get in the way. Unless, of course, that man or woman convert and say, I want to embrace this mission too. Oh, that's different. You're welcome. So, are we prejudiced? No. They're welcome. But at least don't fight me. Right? Don't fight me. Don't do something that will interfere. So this is a very important lecture for those who want to have a better understanding, according to the Kabbalah, how Jews and non-Jews are different in their missions, not in their physical body. There's a lot of beautiful people out there who are not Jewish. A lot of beautiful people who are exemplary in their behavior, in how they conduct themselves, but that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about, because we're talking about accomplishing a mission that will depend on if we follow the Torah or not. So when it comes to Kedusha and when it comes to Tumah, it is very, very sensitive. It's a very sensitive area that we have to be aware of, especially during the time that we have a temple. We have to be extra careful with the laws of purity and impurity. The best way perhaps to understand Kedusha and Tumah, I think, would be through allergies. An allergy is what? Something that bothers you. A lot of people don't even know that they're allergic to something. But what is an allergy? It's something that bothers you. Your system is allergic to something. Kedusha is allergic to Tumah. I'm trying to simplify it. Kedusha, that which is allergic. It's not compatible. It doesn't want to have anything to do with it. It can't take it. And Tumah can't take Kedusha either. They're very, very different. The more holy an individual is, by the way, the more sensitive he will be to Tumah. There's a story about the Baba Sali of best memory, that one day he asked someone in his home, tell me, what's this impurity doing in my house? I detect that there's something unclean, impure here in the living room. He says, Rabbi, there's nothing here except your furniture. Something unclean and impure in this room? Look! They look, they can't find it. Until they moved a very heavy dresser and they found a dead lizard. That dead lizard was a tumah that this tzaddik was able to detect because of his sensitivity. He was allergic to tumah much more than the average person, because he was a big tzaddik. He was a righteous individual. He was a holy man. The holier a person is, the more he will be allergic to that which is impure. I just want to finish with an important idea that people should not mistaken the fact that the Torah forbids us from certain things, that the Torah is for depriving the Jew from enjoying life. No. The Torah says you can enjoy life, you can eat certain things, get married, don't become a Nazir, and stay away and abstain from everything and fast for all your life. Enjoy it, but sanctify it. Be holy. Don't overdo it. Don't exaggerate. Don't overeat. Don't indulge. Sanctify your relationship. Get married to a woman and stay married to her. Tekadesh et hanesuin. Don't go out and look elsewhere. Marry a woman and she will be your wall of protection against illicit relationships. Otherwise people get into trouble. Human beings, they're all human. So we have our limits for good reason. The Torah wants us to be holy. So definitely get married. It will be to your benefit. In this way it will protect your holiness. So eat, but make blessings over what you eat. Elevate the time that you eat. Perhaps study some Torah during the meal. Make this a very special occasion. Not just, great food, my favorite steak. No, this is not what Judaism is about. Be holy. Eat, but elevate the food that you're permitted to eat. You're allowed to eat it, but sanctify yourself in that which is permissible for you to have. You can have a lot of things, but do it in a holy way. Same thing with one's da'at, one's sechel. Sanctify your thoughts by being careful with what you see, what you hear. We can do that if we control what we see, because the eyes can contaminate the da'at, that brain, that the thoughts that we have. So watch over that too. Sanctify it. The Jewish people received a very special inheritance. Rabbis tell us that inheritance consists of the following three traits: tchunot nefesh, that we are baishanim rachmanim gomlei chasadim, that we are bashful, we are kind-hearted, we are compassionate. Even though some more, some less, these are traits. Traits meaning that regardless of the mazal that you're born in, because the mazal definitely has a lot to do with the character and the personality, but traits are inherited. And we inherited to a certain degree these traits. The only way we were able to inherit it is because our forefathers were very careful with purity, with tahara, with kedusha. If that is lacking, then the traits that go down to the next generation will also be lacking. The good traits will be lacking. If we want those good traits to continue, we have to obviously be careful with what our eyes see, with what we put into our system. All of this affects us. All of this will affect our traits and the traits of our children. Therefore, I always recommend those people who are returning to full observance of Judaism, as we call them, Balei Teshuvah, who repent and who want to start their life all over again. As soon as possible, start with kashrut, start with the dietary laws, be very careful with what you eat, make sure that what you eat is kosher 100%, because that will make a world of a difference in how you will feel about yourself as a Jew. Remember we spoke about that identity? Could you identify with this? Are you willing to go to a Torah class? A lot of it will depend on how careful we are with what we put into our mouth. Obviously it's important what comes out of the mouth too, how people talk, but that's a different subject. Here we're talking about the importance of preserving that sanctity, that holy neshama, enabling it to have all that power that it needs to fight the evil inclination. So for someone to start building his Jewish home, remember, a kosher kitchen, very important, one of the pillars of a Jewish home. But do it properly, learn the halachot, ask when you don't know. And in the same way that people care about their physical body these days, people care so much. They exercise, they jog, they do all kinds of things because they care so much about their physical body. Let's not forget that in the same way we care and we should care about the physical body, we need to care about the soul. But people forget that they have the soul. We need to care about the soul. And if we do everything that the Torah tells us to care about the soul, we will succeed in our mission. And B'ezrat Hashem, God willing, we will also succeed in overcoming and in defeating the evil inclination to be the ones that are continuously in control. B'ezrat Hashem.